back. Here I am, Fly Navarro, coming at you live with my very good dear friend, Krissy Wahebi. Krissy, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, my name's Krissy Wahebe. I guess people would probably know me from my father's show. He had a fishing show on ESPN2 for a number of years called The Spanish Fly, and his name was Jose Wahebe. Um, we lost him April 6th of 2012 in a single engine, single pilot plane crash. Um, and since then, we started a memorial foundation in his honor. And it's our mission to honor his legacy by matching his passion for education, conservation, and making fishing dreams come true for individuals with life impacting challenges. So, I am the executive director over at the Jose Wahebe Spanish Fly Memorial Foundation. And my job entails a lot of fundraising, a lot of everything. um, uh, getting the funding, setting up the logistics to bring these individuals out on the water. We've worked with foster kids, sick families, veterans, military personnel, and just some individuals who can really benefit from leaving their reality at the dock and be able to hop on that boat and fish in the moment. Um, there's a lot of benefits when you're fighting a fish. You're not thinking about your next scan's results. You're worried about what's at the end of your line and how are you going to get it up. Get it to the boat versus, has my cancer spread. So, there's a lot of healing abilities, a lot of bonding that, I mean, when you're on the boat, it's kind of like, building a relationship on steroids. For some reason, the water has that effect on you, and gotten really close to a lot of these people. And we've brought over 600 after in June, we have 24 foster kids coming. So right now we've brought uh 596 individuals out on the water. After all of our foster kid trips in June, it'll be 620.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's very bittersweet. I get to do a lot of really cool things for some amazing people. Um, but then it's all because my dad died, so that kind of sucks. But not many people have that opportunity to be able to turn a negative into a positive. So um, I I consistently remind myself how lucky I am in that aspect.
That's that's it's a great way of looking at anything in life. A lot of people spend too much time trying to play the victim instead of trying to pull out the best in a scenario, which um, you really have. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the podcast because again, the foundation is in the name of your father, but it's not your father running it, it's you. You are the power behind it. You are the name behind it. You are the strength behind it. And that was something for me. Uh, Now, again, I've been very blessed to get to know you and talk to you quite often about the foundation and getting the word out. But not, I've never heard anybody, including you, um, attest to the fact that it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you. So I wanted to, number one, give you a platform to talk about not just the foundation, but to find out a little bit about who Krissy Wahebi really is. And um, it's, oh, what, let me find the right word here. It's not just what your dad felt about the industry, um, but the impact that he left on you about the industry. Because You are making your own headway and your own decisions in the industry that has caused you, um, maybe planned, maybe unplanned, but it's caused you to be a very big player in our industry. I don't know if you've noticed that, but you are. And I say that because I'm in the industry. So I wanted to get on here and give you the opportunity to talk about it, talk about the foundation, talk about who you are, and talk about what brought you to where you are now. Um, let's get this started. I do want to go back to something you said about people on a boat, how they bond together. And I want to highlight something to you about that. And I apologize if I sound a little crazy about it, but anytime you get a group of people together and they have the same goal or same mission, and you see this on football teams, you see this on baseball teams, you see this in the military, where people they come together and they have one same goal. And when they accomplish that goal, they're bonded for life. It's a weird, awesome feeling. And fishing is that we have this goal. We have to catch this fish. And it doesn't matter what the fish is. It could be a shark, it could be a tarpon, it could be a blue marlin, it could be whatever. But suddenly you're bonded with that person forever. And um, you were talking about getting up to 600 different people you've helped. And you can look at your phone, man. You don't have to make it so you could just pull it up to your face and look. It's all good, man. Uh, my biggest thing
Yeah.
is I just want you to just be yourself. I don't it's no different than when we talk on the phone regularly. I don't want you to feel like you got to look at the phone sideways. If my phone goes off, I'll look at it. So don't worry about it.
Somebody was just texting me, what's the weather going to be like? Is the shark tournament going to be canceled? And it's like, bro, we all have access to the same apps on our phone.
So you know what? That's a great segue. So let's jump on this because this is something not only is it something to do with your foundation, but it's something very near and dear to my heart, this shark problem we have. So let's talk. This is your second annual. Tell everybody about this shark tournament you're putting on.
So yeah, this is our second annual Spanish Fly Shark Tournament down here in Key West. And the way we run it is um you log all your catches online, you take a picture, upload it to the website. We grab all your metadata so we know that you're not stockpiling shark photos for the last 3 years or something. It's bull sharks only, catch and release only. And I don't know if people remember there was a show called the Madfin Shark Tournament. And they would have it was a made for TV tournament, and they would have different guests on the show that would fish against each other. And they had a couple of different categories. Hammerheads, tigers, nurse sharks were minus 100 points.
Ooh.
Lemons, black tips, and bulls. And every shark had a different scoring category. And um, with the foundation and everything that we do, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to mirror, what did my dad do? What did he do? Because it worked. Um, so there's so many tournaments down here, whether it's sailfish, mahi, hermit. I didn't want to do just another mahi tournament. I didn't want to do another hermit tournament. I wanted to do something that people are going to have bent rods and get some numbers on the board. And how can we factor conservation into all of this? Well, there's a lot of people and saying these sharks, they're everywhere and yada, yada, yada. And the way that we've studied sharks in the past has not been a very efficient way from the research that I could find, um, was that we got our sharks population numbers by paying longliners to report their bycatch. And that's back in the 90s. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff, good and bad, in that time frame. So what's being done now? And my understanding is when Congress passed the Shark Act, is they allotted for money to be allocated to study the numbers and then, be able to make an educated decision on, okay, let's pull some tags for some of these species or not. For me, myself personally, I think if I were to bring this to my dad and say, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about killing sharks?" I think he would have said, like, well, let's see the numbers. Let's see the data. Let's have an educated, scientific understanding of what's out there and make a decision from that. Um, and so that's, we've provided our numbers. We caught 37 fish on 7 boats in 2 days. Um, so
And that was
uh,
last year.
that was last year.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, that's a lot of bull sharks.
It is.
Yeah. So being able to give that information to Bonefish Tarpon Trust, and there's a few different reasons why I wanted to do the shark tournament. Because another big reason is our water quality is not getting any better. And our fishery is not getting any better. And we had not as many this year, but the spinning fish, those came back this year. And as Monroe County continues to get filled in and built up and sewage keeps leaking into our waters, I don't see it going away. I only see it, continuing. Um, I feel like, you know, people who do this for a living, um, might need to start pitching different fish to their clients. I mean, there's still fish here. There's still a lot of the fishery down here is still fantastic, but the permit fishing isn't what it used to be. The bone fishing is not what it used to be. Tarpon season is shorter than it normally, it's not what it once was. So if we want to continue to have a job, maybe we need to start pitching to our clients how much fun shark fishing really is. There's more and more guides doing sandbar trips these days. And, at the end of the day, some guys, no offense to anybody, living in Iowa or, some states that are more landlocked, but those guys, they just want to catch fish. And you're their salesman. Sell them on how much fun bull sharks are. They're so big. They're so cool. You're gonna have
Most
a blast.
most people are happy. They love catching a shark.
We are the brats. Our clients are gonna mirror like, oh, I don't want to go cuda fishing. Oh yeah, well, I don't want to go cuda fishing either. They don't know, you know, just to, just like my kids. Um, they only know what, you tell them, what they're exposed to. And for me, Fly, growing up with my dad, I never really, until I was, older, like, like in my 20s, did I really understand. Um, I just wanted to catch a fish. I didn't care what it was. I was just happy to be out on the boat fishing with my dad. It didn't matter if it was for tarpon or for jacks. I didn't care. It was just, time on the water. And with a bent rod. It wasn't until I started fishing with other people is when I started to realize like, oh, we're going after tuna today. There's fish over there. Ah, those are mackerels. We're going after tuna. Okay. Keep fish over there. Nope, nope. Keep going. So I never really understood um, the having the preference in the certain species that you're catching until I was, an adult. Um, and I never really realized what a good fisherman my dad was. until I started fishing with other people as well. Because we were always catching. But that was, I think, a big thing that had to do with that is like if I was out on the water with my dad and he knew that, offshore was not happening, all right, let's go catch some kudas in the channel. No big deal. We're gonna have a blast either way. They're fast. You can watch them eat. They jump. So with the shark tournament, it might be something that eventually the guides down here have to start pitching more to their clientele, and we're here to kind of introduce it
Well,
in a
you're doing a
fun way.
good job, and on top of the fact that you're tying in with the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust, so the data is not going to waste. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
The data is
Yeah.
not going to waste. So, and anybody that's spent any time in the North Atlantic fishing knows we got a shark problem. Um,
Yeah.
it
See, I've never fished north.
what? Well, anything north of the equator is the North Atlantic. So, the Caribbean, Bahamas, Florida. Uh,
I have fished in Maine too, though. So that and Maryland. So actually.
wait a second, isn't it your mom's from Maine?
No, no, she's from Illinois, but she lives in Maine.
Okay, I thought she lived there. I knew something. I was trying
Yeah.
to keep it all track. Listen, my
Yeah.
my RAM is filling. You know, the
You talk.
regular.
I'm the one with the machine in my head.
Well, that's a whole nother story if you want to talk about. It's not Neuralink, ladies and gentlemen. Even though
Not,
that would be kind of cool. You'd be like the bionic woman.
yeah. So I actually looked into it, Selah. No, ma'am. Thank you. Um, I actually looked into the different. So, long story short, I've had epilepsy since I was 11. Um, Fast forward a few years, I got brain surgery 3 different times, and they put something called a neuropace in my brain. Think of it like a pacemaker for your heart, except for your brain. So when I start getting irregular brain waves that evolve into a seizure, this machine turns on and like shocks my brain back into where it's supposed to go. Um, so yeah, I looked at the differences between what Neuralink does and what my brain does. They're similar in the sense of a robot implants them. So I had my brain surgeon was operating a robot that actually like implanted everything into my head. And then Neuralink and NeuroPace do record your brain activity. But what Neuralink does is you can control an external device with your thoughts. So just by thinking, I could text you, hello.
Damn.
I can't do that with my brain, with my thing, nor do I need that. So, but it's primarily being the people that it's been implanted to now are all people with ALS and quadriplegics. So people who don't have the ability to talk or move anything, they can think it and do it. So it's been helping people that way, but it's not the same thing what I have. So
You've got generation one.
yeah, yeah.
You
I've
got
got
generation one.
I got the first one.
Yeah.
So maybe
Neuralink is probably version 4.0.
yeah. Well, I have to get my battery switched out every 8 to 12 years, so maybe I'll get an upgrade on the next one. We'll see.
What kind of battery? Like a full size car battery you got to walk around with, or
That's exactly what it is, Fly. No, so they
too bad it's not solar powered.
right? So, I mean, I'd be good. So when they talked about doing the surgery, there was one where I could get where the battery was implanted in my chest
Uh-huh.
and charge it, but it'd be like right here. And the shallow part of me said to my doctor, I was like, dude, my kids didn't destroy my boobs. I'm not gonna have a lump in my breast destroying my cleavage line. Like, no. So
A battery port.
I know. So they cut a piece of my skull out, probably about like that big. You felt the bumps
No,
on
no,
my head.
I saw it. I remember you looked like Ripley from Aliens. You look
Yep.
like
Yep.
Sigourney Weaver, the badass in Alien, man.
Yeah, it was very Mad Maxy for sure.
100%.
Yeah. So no, they put a machine and some electrodes and then a metal plate in my head. And so now when they replace the battery, all they'll have to do is cut an incision, flip open the metal plate, unscrew the battery, put in the new battery, close it back up, stitch me back up. So it'll be a lot more simple than
It'll be
uh,
easy. Is it like a watch battery?
I would guess so. I
Uh,
mean, the machine's about like 2 inches big. So it's not, I mean, it's in my head right now. So,
And just
it
so anybody that's watching this on video, she doesn't have the headband to cover up the battery.
no, no, that's to cover up my horrible tan line right
You're
now.
sunburned from this weekend. Somebody went out to the Air and Sea show and wasn't properly suntan lotioned up.
No, my kids were though.
Well, that's a good thing. That's Listen,
I,
mommy job comes first.
yep, yep. My kids didn't get sunburnt, but I did.
Well, it's okay. Was the Air and Sea show good this weekend?
It was awesome. The Blue Angels were down. So, the boys hated it for all the noise, um, but once the Blue Angels came out, they as long as we closed their ears and got them earplugs, they were fine. Um, so it
And
was
just so everybody knows, how old are your boys?
fun. Anthony Jose or AJ is 8, and Ryder David is gonna be 5 next week.
Wow, they're growing up fast.
No, dude, it's so fast. I'm
And
like,
they love fishing just the same, don't they?
it's a sickness, and they have it bad.
Ooh, you don't have to tell me, man.
I'm
I
not,
know what kind of a sickness it is.
yeah. And I very much want to raise my kids down in the Florida Keys just like I was. And if you don't embrace the water, you will be very bored down here. If you embrace the water, there's never a boring day out there. And AJ is Ryder's still kind of in the bait well phase where he loves going out on the boat, but like when we start fishing, he's usually in the bait well, um, you know, freeing the fish as they get
It
gobbled up on
happens.
the boat.
It
Um,
happens.
yeah, and but AJ, he will fish all day till the bait's gone, the mosquitoes are eating you alive. Like he he will be your ride or die fishing buddy, like to the end. Um, he was being a little turd burglar the other day, and my boyfriend Chuck told him, "Fine, AJ, I'm just not going to bring you fishing anymore." He broke down into tears. And he was like, I don't know if you could talk to Uncle Chuck, but he told me he was never going to bring me fishing ever again. And I was like, I came upstairs and I'm like, what did AJ do for you to tell him that? And he's like, he told me I was the worst fisherman in the world.
If I'm so bad, you can't come fishing with me anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, why did you say that to Uncle Chuck? Because he was being mean to me. I was like, boy, you better not bite the fan that the
Today.
hand that you
Ain't
or the
that the
hand
truth?
that brings you fishing. And he was and AJ is my sweet kid, and he was very sorry he said that. But he's 8, so he's starting to like that sweet little boy. Like he has his own opinions about things and questions and when they're like 6, They just kind of go along with whatever's going along. And now, but mom, why do we do it this way? But mom, and
It,
then,
he's only going to get more opinionated.
dude, at least they're not girls, you know. I can handle boys. Um, it's I couldn't handle another version of me. Um, and Ryder is starting to look. I was on FaceTime with my dad's sister last
Uh-huh.
night, and she always called my dad Hebe. And she's like, Krissy, Ryder looks just like I remember Hebe as a little boy. So I got one that looks like my late husband Dave, which is AJ, and Ryder definitely favors the Wahebe side. So it's a mind trip sometimes looking around and it's like, whoa.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
only imagine. So
So
what about your childhood fishing? How did you get introduced to fishing? I'm assuming your father was the one that opened the door for you, but give us a
yeah.
little light into it.
Well, like I definitely fished a lot with my dad growing up, but it wasn't like um how one would think. We did a lot of exploring trips. So when he wasn't fishing, he was checking other spots.
Which is
So,
important.
which is important, but sometimes be really flippin' boring for, a kid. And so, we didn't always go to all the good spots where all the fish were, where because he knew the fish were there. So we did a lot of exploring. And I think being a girl and especially being like daddy's little girl, it was always like, "Oh, honey, let me get that for you. Let me take the fish off the hook. Let me do this. Let me do that." And then when I developed my epilepsy at 10, um there was a lot of things like driving the boat and like having my own boat and things like that were kind of like off the table with my seizures and stuff. So I think my dad almost um, kind of uh, put me in more of a little bit of a bubble. He definitely, we fished a lot. And my parents split when I was um, 12, and then we moved to Maine when I was 13. So we'd fish a lot like when I'd come down and stuff, but usually um a lot of our time on the water was more spent just like hanging out on the boats, swimming, hanging out at the sandbars. When my dad wasn't working, he didn't always want to fish. He wanted to be out on the water, but he didn't want to be fishing. Um, because there's a lot of prep work that goes into it and
It's a lot of
whatnot.
work. There's a lot of work, not just prep work. It's prep work, it's during work, it's after work, post
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, I think sometimes people think I've done a lot more fishing than I have. I mean, I've definitely done a lot. But uh but I think, my dad kind of he did everything for me out on the boat. Um I was also introduced not only to just like fishing, but I'd say my childhood, it was a very interesting childhood because my dad was a fisherman and my mom was a dolphin trainer. So summers I would spend at Dolphin Research Center and I got to grow up with dolphins. Some of the dolphins um that well, I'm a little bit older than Marina, Alita, and Santini, but they're all in their late 30s. And myself and two other women, Jen and KJ, were all kids of DRC employees. We all grew up together. So Marina, Alita, and Santini are all kind of like our ages. So I
Could you let everybody know who they
they're
are?
dolphins. Yeah, Marina, Alita, and Santini are dolphins over at Dolphin Research Center. So um, you know, my introduction to fishing, it wasn't just fishing, it was more the water and more of the coastal lifestyle of just living on an island was exposed to me by both parents. Um, so um, I would say like a lot of what I learned from my parents, with a lot of like animal behavior, just whether it's marine mammals or fish, just understanding. Um, my dad was very dialed into um, knowing what the fish do when there's not a boat over them. How are they acting normally? And he got trained on a rebreather for that reason. He loved to sink to the bottom of the ocean floor, have the boat drive away, and then just watch the fish and how they behaved. Um, he was very dialed into all that stuff, which uh I don't think there's a lot of fishermen that get wet as often as I don't want to say maybe should, but they don't get as wet as my dad did. And I think that's what made him so good is that um him and my mother had met at Miami Seaquarium where she was a dolphin trainer and he had worked his way up from collecting tropical fish for the aquarium to when one of the managers saw that he had trained a Goliath grouper and a moray eel to swim around him in a circle or in between his legs just by giving a simple hand signal. And they're like, oh, shoot, look at this little brown boy knowing how to teach fish to do stuff because Miami was a very different time when y'all grew up when y'all grew up. So they started they promoted him to working with the sea lions. Um he wanted to make it his mission to train some of the otters that they had there and um one otter just completely shredded his whole hand and my mom said he came into the trainer's office and was like those things are little demon spawns and I will never work with them ever again about the otters. But he had an education in animal behavior from working at Miami Seaquarium and being married to my mother, who was a dolphin trainer. So he very much was dialed into how fish um, act normally when they're not being baited. And I think that's one big thing that definitely set him apart from um, just having one more piece of education in his tool belt um, when he's above water dropping the line, you know?
The perspective of what it looks like from down below. A lot of times we don't think about that. We try to look at something, if you're trolling, what does the bait look like? Oh, it looks good from right here, but you got to put yourself in the perspective of what the fish sees. Same thing with your live baiting or if you're dropping down to on a reef. What does the fish see? What can I do to make this presentation look the best so I can get as many bites as possible?
Mhm.
It's my uncle, or actually my godfather, who is my uncle. Um, Typical Cuban guy, loved to yellowtail fish. And one of the things he taught me was because most of the time he fished was at night. So he goes, now imagine what that school looks like and imagine how you're presenting that bait. How are you trying to present the bait? Where are the best, the biggest yellowtails out there? Are they close? Are they in the middle? Are they underneath all the smaller ones? Are they behind it? So you are constantly trying to, before you start drifting your bait back, where could you put it so that the current will take it to where the biggest fish are first? And it was a constant, it was a mind game. It still is. To me, it's chess. Even growing up when I was running boats, it's like, okay, here's the edge. The edge is coming up in whatever, a quarter of a mile or an eighth of a mile. I want to make sure my spread looks perfect. Get my turn out of the way, make sure everything is looking exactly perfect. So when I'm coming off the edge, every bait in my spread looks perfectly. So it's a presentation thing. So no, I totally understand it. I understand, especially with the rebreather going down there so the fish doesn't even notice you. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and he told me a story at one time. He had he had gone down and you have the boat drive away so that everybody could, get back to how they normally do stuff down there on the reef. And when my dad came up, he's like, I couldn't see the boat. The boat couldn't see me. And he was out there for like 3 hours until they finally found him.
What?
I'm like, Dad, you can't tell your daughter and your mom these stories and expect us to not be flipping worried about you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The crazy, stupid things we do. And that's why us men don't live as long as women. We do crazy, crazy things. Oh,
Oh,
I got this idea. I want to see what it's like to be a fish at the bottom. I'm just gonna sit there. I've done that more than one time, where I got just enough air in my tank where I can get just one last lobster. And then next thing you know, shit, that was the last breath. So, but it happens. It happens, you know. I know it's happened to me more than once.
yeah. Yeah. I've never was able to get into diving, so all my brain stuff, but um
Makes sense.
yeah, yeah. But no, he was definitely a special breed in that sense for sure.
I
So
I remember always watching when I say a kid. I was whatever when he first got on TV.
yeah,
I was probably just
right.
preteen when he got on. I think your dad was about 12 or 15 years older than me.
How old are you?
52.
52, so he would have been 67. So he was
Okay.
15.
15 years. I knew he was like 12 or 15 years.
He would hate being almost 70. I wish he could come back for like 5 minutes so I could just be like, Dad,
You're so old.
you're so old, dude.
I was actually in Key West when he passed.
Yeah.
I was down there fishing a tournament and the news spread around the island like wildfire.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
It's, I mean, Key West was his home.
Yep.
That's where his
Yeah.
business was based out of anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, him and my mom moved down here in like 76.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had one house on Big Pine where I was born, and then one house on Summerlin where we lived while we were building our house in Big Pine. And it's one of the foundation's donors. His name's Tom Bird. He was an anesthesiologist and he retired, and now he has the house I grew up in. And I'll go there and visit. He's a great guy, and it's just like such a mind. It's
You can
so
say
trippy.
you can say it.
It's such a mind fuck to walk in there, and there's like, we had like a two-story ceiling in our living room, and then my parents' bedroom had an octagon cutout window on the second story, so they could look out their window into the living room and see you.
Mhm.
And like I walked in there after like 25 years of not going inside the house, and like the dining room table is still there that my dad used to tie his flies on. And like that octagon, like we used to jump out that window we'd push the couches together and like jump onto the couches, and it's like a 15-foot drop. And I remember one of my friends almost broke her leg because she jumped in the middle of it and the couches separated. We're
Oh,
like, hey, we're not going to do that again. But um, just like, and then I live in my dad's house now, which he bought in 96 after my parents split. And people always ask me, like, oh, why did your dad pick this place? Why did your dad pick this place? And it's a spot in the Keys where you can only a fisherman would think like this. Um, he had access to the Bay side and the Atlantic side, and he could get underneath the bridge in his boat without having to go all the way to Bay of Honda or around Key West. So that's why he picked a house on Niles Channel. It's deep water access, and you can go offshore or backcountry.
It's honestly, because I've been there, it's a great location. You can fish right off the dock. It's also a great location for any kind of functions.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So
So
let's talk a little bit about the functions that you hold there every year. Um, I do have to give you a shout out on your cup, even though I know it's your dad's name that says Spanish fly on there. I like when I just see fly.
bye. Here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Or just show you my left boob.
And for anybody that's listening to this on audio only, it says Spanish fly on it. Uh,
Uh,
it's funny because I've been sponsoring a bass fisherman for a, a young lady, but she's a bass fisherman. She's now in the Toyota Series, Major League of Fishing. And that's always the big joke is that it says my name is right across her chest. So when she's weighing in fish, it says Fly Zone Fishing on it.
you're
So,
just
but I'm very proud of her. I've been sponsoring her for 5 or 6 years. She just broke the 12-pound largemouth bass record, I think 2 years ago. So I've kind of watched her progress through the whole thing. It's pretty cool.
is 12 pounds big.
I no no no. It was I think it was 12
12
pound
pounds.
tests, but I
Oh,
think it
oh,
was it was 12 pounds. I think the fish was 12 or 13 pounds as well. It was I mean it's a beautiful bass and it's been on so many covers of magazines. I'm trying to remember. I think I sponsored a team during the Blue Water Babes tournament. They needed an entry, so I sponsored them and that's where I first met her. And then I saw she was on the Major League Fishing circuit and she asked me to sponsor and I did and I've just continually done it. Um, and I'm a big proponent of number one, the next generation, but I'm a huge proponent of helping women fish in tournaments or just helping women fish because when women fish, when moms fish, the kids fish. A lot of times if it's only dad that fishes, he might use it as an excuse to get out of the house and hang out with his buddies. But when moms fish, everybody fishes. And so that's why I mean, even my tournaments, I don't give out angler awards, but I do give out top female and top junior anglers. Because of that reason, I want to see moms go fishing and I want to see the kids go with them.
oh,
Um, this past weekend, I just had a tournament and I'm still waiting for permission to publish the young lady's name, but she's 14 years old and she caught her first white marlin and won top junior angler. Um, which she was so happy when she came up to give the video. She's soaking wet. They had just finished throwing her in the marina,
oh,
which is
that,
great, man. It's great. That's the next generation. I'm always looking for my replacement.
yep.
It's important. If you're not constantly looking at that next generation, who's going to replace me? You forget about it. And I don't want that. It's important to me. Number one, at 52 years old, not very many people want to listen to a 52-year-old anymore. They're looking for some 30-something-year-old guy that's talking on the camera or whatever. Which is again, I'm totally okay with it. I rather use my connections to prop up as many people as possible and find those young guys and gals that I can help propel in the industry and open up doors for them. because God knows many people have opened doors for me. So I want to be able to return the favor.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we uh teaming up with some of the people over at Outdoor America, um it's been um it's been some discussion, and I'm coming to a point of realization where the next generation, being in their 20, stop. Sorry, my dog keeps licking my couch. I don't want her licking my couch. That's gross. Sayla, you have food and toys. You can go lick that. Um, I feel like 32 and under,
Uh-huh.
they don't know who my dad was. Or maybe like I think maybe I remember that show. Um, so at one of our events that we had, Fish for Jose, which you've been to, we hold the first weekend of March, and it's at my dad's uh place, his backyard. It's a beautiful event where we have guest speakers from the foundation, industry people that knew my dad. Everybody gets together, we tell some stories, show a video, great food, silent auction, live auction, yada yada yada. But the crew from Outdoor America came down this year, and they're coming down to film the shark tournament. And one of the big things that one of the guys has said to me is, Krissy, you may not want to hear this, but people are forgetting who your dad was and the impact that he had on this industry. And I feel like unless there is some kind of media component, listen, your dad is he my dad would have been a great fisherman with or without the show. I mean, he already was, regardless. But it's the media component that got his story out there to so many people. And in order to continue um a legacy brand, whether we're talking about, um, the apparel, the events, Spanish Fly itself, it started with a media component. And we need to introduce the next generation of anglers um, to my dad and who he was. So we need that media component of the show to to reintroduce him. And that's what we're going to start working on this weekend. Is we're shooting some footage. We're interviewing my dad's uh I guess he'd be his ex-stepdad. Um my grandmother was married to a guy, Ron, for about 10 years. Um, but it was from like when my dad was 11 to 21. So he's got some crazy stories about them taking John boats on with like a gallon of water, a couple gallons of gas, and 3 cases of Coors Lights and going to Bimini, Miami.
Oh
So
dear God.
yeah, so we're gonna interview him, and a number of other key players that were Terry Cassidy, who um, filmed the first Spanish Fly. The first Spanish Fly that ever was an episode with Jackson Sharks. So we're gonna do a show with a captain and Terry Cassidy fishing for Jackson Sharks, and then edit it in a way where it cuts back and forth to the old footage and the new footage. Um, because you want um, that new person that identifies with the younger generation, to introduce him to the old guy, um, that kind of launched this platform for so many of the people who are popular today. How did they get to where they were? So just being able to tell that story to the next generation and continue to tell that story. Because at the end of the day, a good story can be told multiple different ways. and he's got an amazing story. And I think that I've got a pretty cool story. And I think that my boys will have very cool stories. And the people that surround us and that live our awesome little life in our little bubble, our fishing industry bubble, whether it's, me and you or the people in the Keys, it's the life that we live every day. And um, and just how to protect it, how to continue the message. Um, and I mean, what is that message exactly? Um, I think at the end of the day, just doing the best with what you have at that point in time. Don't be an asshole. Um,
The
you know,
asshole test. You don't know how popular that is, the asshole test. Don't be an asshole.
yeah, that's it. I tell my kids that. Just Ryder, just don't be an asshole. Mommy, don't say asshole. Like, mommy can say asshole because mommy has a job and she pays the bills. When you have a job and you pay the bills, you can say asshole too. How's that sound? Okay, mom. I don't want a job. I won't say asshole. Okay.
Man, if I would have known that, I would have started cursing a lot earlier. And I
Man.
don't even mean in the podcast, I just mean in life. Uh, I've been called told more than once I have a mouth like a sailor, but I guess it's just one of the things when you're on a boat.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I married a sailor and then he turned into a fisherman. So I've always had uh, a potty mouth.
It is what it is. They
But then
said,
it like cheese and rice and
"Oh
instead of
no,
other.
no, no! Listen, I sprinkle it around like it's seasoned salt, man. I just put it on everything. I actually have I have a very dear friend of mine, and his father, who is another dear friend of mine. We were out fishing one day, and the Roof is on Fire song came on, but the remake by Cake, and I we started singing it, and the roof is on fire, let the motherfucker burn. And he looks over at the time. JB was, how old was JB at the time? He was late 70s at the time. He's 84 now. And he looks over, he goes, "What is it with today's generation and the F word?" He goes, "I went out the other day and there was these two young girls and they were saying F this and F that." And I walked over and I put his arm around him. I go, "JB, I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know what the fuck everybody's problem is." So ever since then, uh,
Little
we created a group. It's called the Fuck Group. Anytime I see some meme with the F word in it, I sent it straight to JB, and he's 84 years old now. And he's like, "Real, how can you get on camera or get on stage and you don't say the F word once? Then you get around me and it's everywhere." I said, "Well, when it's time, you got to sprinkle that shit around like seasoned salt, man. Just
yeah.
sprinkle it everywhere." There's nothing like a good, and it's a perfect word. It can be an adjective, it can be a verb, it could be a noun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's one size fits all, man.
Yeah. It's funny though, like, because I have a terrible mouth and and I say, I'll call my kids like certain things and there we were doing a bridge fishing tournament and the local Rotary Club puts on this bridge fishing tournament in Big Pine and all the kids get together and um well there's a couple hundred people on No Name Bridge and like the random we have key deer, the little miniature deer down here. This random deer just starts running down the bridge and one of my oldest son, AJ's one of his buddies started chasing the deer. And listen, I'm not like a huge tree hugger, but like chasing the deer was freaking scared out of its mind and had no idea where to go. And it was freaking out. And this kid starts chasing it. And I'm like, Jackson, don't be a dick. Stop chasing the deer. And the dad turns around and he's like, hey, don't say that to my kid. And I was like, well, tell your kid to stop being a dick. And then I thought about it for a little while and I was like, I know his wife really well, Jackie, but I don't know him. This kid was being a dick, but maybe I should apologize for calling his son a dick because he doesn't know me that well. But I say way worse to my own children. So like
Listen, it's an endangered species. You were trying to prevent him from going to jail at 6 years old.
don't be a dick. Don't don't chase the deer.
Don't chase the don't chase the endangered deer at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to see, I just, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's something about mammals too. Listen, I'll eat venison all day long, but even my dad couldn't hunt either. He's like, something about looking another warm-blooded animal in the eyes and taking its life. I can't do it.
Listen, I hunt and there is a what's the word I'm looking at? You are like you said, you are taking the life of an animal and you know that. And there's something to be said. And I know whenever I harvest an animal, I not only do I thank him for his life, I thank him for his nourishment, because in essence, you're almost like playing God. So no, no, I get it. I totally understand. So the kid was being a dick. Did you
Oh.
ever did you ever talk to Jackie and get that all situated?
I'll see Jackie probably when soccer starts because our kids are a year off.
Oh, so you
And
haven't talked to her about it since then.
no, I do have her number. I could text her. I'm sure she's forgotten about it.
Bring it
Maybe.
back up. Hey, listen, your kid had to have learned it from somebody. Is it you or your husband?
No, but it's funny is her younger son is a terror. Jackson's actually a pretty good kid. And it's just boys being boys. Boys are dicks sometimes. But so her youngest and my youngest are feral little heathens. So um we talk to each other all the time, like, oh yeah, if you need to whoop his ass, go for it. So I've had that conversation with his mother, never had his conversation with his father. So uh,
I get
you
it.
know, you know, I'm not for everybody, Fly.
No, listen, I get it. Neither am I. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm more like a shot of tequila.
Yeah, which is why it always brings me back to when I first met you at the Mississippi Billfish Golf Close Classic, and you
Go ahead
you
and
are
say it.
you are in my phone as Fly Navarro now, but you were in my phone as Fly Loud Cuban for probably like a decade.
I love it. I
I
love
could
it.
hear you from
Loud
miles
Cuban.
away.
I listen, I'm loud.
And
I always tell everybody.
the only one there.
Yeah, no, especially in Mississippi. It's not like there was a bunch of Cubans walking around. I was the only one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a half breed that doesn't speak Spanish, so,
Um, I was
I
born in the States, but I'm full-blooded. Both my parents were Cuban. English is my second language. Fly loud Cuban. It's so
fly.
true.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm 4'11", but I'm 6'4" when I open my mouth.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was wow, that was about 10, 12 years ago. I was just thinking about that one time we were in ICAST and we went to the Ethiopian restaurant. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about, I'm not thinking about the food. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about the ride back when you guys needed a ride. It's like, oh, I'll get an Uber. It's like, man, I could put you all in my vehicle. I don't, what was it, like 12 of us? And I have I still have the Tahoe, but I have no seats in it. So my girlfriend, it was her vehicle beforehand for work. She uses it. She's a equine vet, so she has her big medical box in it. So when she bought her next vehicle, she goes, "Listen, I can't be without a vehicle. Can you trade your truck in and you can keep my Tahoe just in case something happens? I can use yours when you're out of town because I'm out of town so often. And when we put it all back together, I'm like, I don't want seats in my car. I love this. This is great. It's like having a pickup truck, but with a camper on it. So I think Peter in the front seat, and there was like 11 or 12 of you girls in the back. Everybody was sitting Indian style as we
Well,
drove from one.
was that's at the Billfish tournament? That wasn't
No,
it.
no, no, no. That was at ICAST in Orlando. That was in an ICAST in Orlando. We had spent all
Okay.
day.
Yeah. No, I'm right. It's part of all the brain surgery stuff is
Yeah, listen, that's fair.
yeah, but yes, no, I remember. I remember. I was not a fan of the Ethiopian though. It was
That was Peter's choice. Peter loves Ethiopian. I don't mind Ethiopian, but that was Peter's choice because he's got me to go to Ethiopian up in Washington when we've done fishery meetings. There's a Ethiopian joint about 4 blocks away from the hotel, and usually every other year we end up going. He he picks it out, but I would say our favorite one is Vietnamese. There's a
Mm,
Vietnamese joint, a pho restaurant.
I love pho.
I
But
love pho.
I did meet both you and Peter at the Mississippi tournament.
Was that at the same time?
Yep. Yep. I met both of you that year. Um, yeah.
That
That's like when
was
the crew used to all go and
and party.
party the good old days.
And it's so funny because I mean, even when I started going there, I'd already quit drinking. I'm going on let's see, July 4th is going to be 17 years since I've had a drink. So all those times I saw you in Mississippi, I don't need alcohol to have a good time, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember. That was a while ago. And I've been talking to Robbie a bunch lately, and I was just talking to Renee Cross yesterday. He called me up. Um, I forget what he called me up about, but we were talking because he's like, "Are you going to be at my tournament?" He puts on the one in Louisiana, and then the next week it's in Mississippi. And let me tell you, that's like a weekly party. Them boys,
It
they fish hard, they party hard.
it's wild. I had never seen like tournaments of that magnitude. Um and and the money. I
Big money.
mean, like Flat's got, like some of my friends' clients, like, oh yeah, this guy is private jet, blah 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 blah. See stupid money? F the Flats stuff. Go see
Yeah,
some
no.
fishing. And I remember going there and like one guy had brought his houseboat that could trailer his sport fisher and his 34 contender, which was his bay boat or his bait boat. And then he also had a helicopter landing pad on his houseboat. And I met God, why am I blanking on this chef's name?
Oh, Emma
Uh
Lagasse.
yes, Bow, Pam, that guy.
Yeah,
And
he has the al dente.
and I actually have I have to find it. Because when I went to college, I had a few years of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And my dad's like, why don't you do something in film and video and I can use you later. So I got my degree in film and video production. And when I came down here for some summer break, spring break, something, um, my dad would only cook when he was home. He'd make omelets and steak. That's like the extent of his cooking, really. Or fish. But he was making an omelet and I was videoing it. And he would go from like a Martha Stewart voice, like, now we're just gonna sprinkle a little dab of pow, bam. I've got that somewhere. But yeah, he was who he was, but like so many people say, like, he seems so cool on camera. Like, was he really like? I mean, the person that you saw on camera was like who he was in person. And and I and I don't know. I don't know if that's what made him like so relatable to people, so likable. Um, but
There's something to be said about authenticity. People, the camera picks up everything.
Mhm.
The way the saying goes, the eye in the sky don't lie. It picks up everything. And if you're authentic, it'll pick up that authenticity. If you're fake, it'll pick it up too. And your dad was always very authentic. You know,
Yeah.
when he talked about fishing, when he talked about how much he cared about conservation, you can feel it. You can feel that authenticity. So that gravitates, people gravitate to authenticity. And just in life in general, when you got to deal with fake people or fake people you work with and all that, people want something authentic. And if you're authentic, if first of all, you got to be true to yourself. And if you're
Mhm.
true to yourself, people will see that and they gravitate towards it. And that was something, you know, at least I know I felt about your dad, um, was his authenticity. And, you know, throw on top of it that he's a little Cuban boy, you know. I'm the son of two immigrants from Cuba. It for me there was always that connection. There was always
Yeah.
that connection saying, "Oh, so you're saying there's a chance." You
Mhm.
know, you're saying there's a chance. Me as a young Cuban kid, I can become a fisherman.
Yep.
Uh, and I had no way. I mean, I didn't know the industry back then like I do now. And again, authenticity. This industry. The one great thing about I feel about this industry, if you give it 100%, it'll give you 100% back. You know,
Hmm.
if you give your all into it and people see that, they will give it back to you. And um, people thrive. If you're, you know, if you're a good person in this industry, people will gravitate towards you and they'll want to help you. You know, every once in a while you run into an asshole or a dick.
Every now and then.
It happens. I've run into a couple of them, but you
Yeah.
know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like the ratios of dicks to, you know, just fantastic people. Um, the scale is far tipped in the positive direction. I've met so many amazing people, um, whether they worked with my dad or were fans of the show. Um, and I think my dad, I often wonder, like, would he have been as good as he was if he was white? I think him being like that little brown boy that couldn't get hired, that couldn't work at the marinas, like he knew that if this was going to work, he had to be the best at it. And and it got to a point where it was like, it wasn't even a race thing. He was just Jose. He was a badass fisherman that appealed to everyone across the board because he was authentic and he was really good at what he did. Um, and there was no, hidden agendas in the show. Um, it wasn't like he was on there saying like, I want to prove that brown people can do this too. No, he just wanted to show people how to catch fish. He just wanted to say like, hey, this is what I do every day. Like, come on, let me show you. It wasn't just a watch me fish show. It was like, you know, here's me and this my buddy that I've known for years and years, and come with me and like let me tell you a story and show you how to catch this fish along the way. Um, so, by like putting his saltwater tackle box segments in there or the Viva Del Mar segments, which explained like the the life of the ocean and just how tuna are ram feeders and how they open up their mouth, like how it all works. So you understand, like we were talking about earlier, how that presents to the fish. And the saltwater tackle box segments, like showing people very close up. I getting my degree in film and video, and I worked with my dad for a year and a half before he died. Oh God, working with him, he was so meticulous on like, okay, no, but you need to see my fingers. Nope, you're not focused in. It's not the right angle. Do it again. Nope, do it again. Do it again to give the viewer the exact perspective what they needed in order to tie that knot. Like we were going to do 40 flipping takes or whatever it took. So they got the best experience out of it. Um, and he really honestly wanted to introduce people to the fishery because he really believed like that's how we conserve it, right? You're not gonna, if we truly understand our waters, if you truly understand something you love, will we keep poisoning it? I think that's the message at the end of the day. You have to understand it. You have to, and in order to love something, you have to understand something. And in order to protect something, you have to love it. So I think that was a big part of his whole message of introducing um, people to fishing, is it wasn't just about the fish at the end of your line. It's about the birds, the mangroves, the channels, reading the water and everything that goes into it. Um, and how do we get people to care so they can conserve for the next generation of anglers? Um, because I look at my kids and I'm like, shit, kids, you might be shark fishing captains. I don't know about the permit fishery, when you get older. Um, because Monroe County they just approved a bunch more for Rogo points, so more buildings going up, and our water our water that comes from Miami, those pipes are over 75 years old. We have 30% water pressure at my house right now, and they're building more. The poo poo has nowhere to go when all these people come, and the poop is getting into our waters. And I mean, not to mention all the other factors that go into everything that goes into our oceans. I mean, Captains is doing so much, BTT is doing so much. Um, but it is scary the amount of just evident trash that I see every day wash up in our beach fly. I never remember as a kid seeing that stuff. Never. And the amount of consumption and trash that we do on the daily, and we're all guilty of it.
We all
Uh,
are.
I try with the refillable waters and um and this and that, but like everything comes in plastic. Everything. And um you want to talk about like um killer whales not being able to have a viable calf off the west coast off the west coast of the country, and why the killer whale populations are going down, and oh, we need to free the killer whales that are in captivity. No, we don't. No, we don't, because they don't know how to hunt, because we did that before, and the killer whale Keiko, he died from pneumonia. He was begging from boats, like he was a male. He's not going to get adopted by, another male to show me how to hunt. How about we stop polluting and poisoning our waters so these animals can have a viable calf, because the amount of toxins that they're ingesting, if I were to be pregnant and I'm eating poison, my kid's gonna be messed up or stillborn. And that's what's happening to a lot of, these bigger animals, because they're older and they eat bigger fish who are older, who have more toxins built up in their system. And that's what we see happening with a lot of these bigger animal species not repopulating at the rate that they were, because what they eat is poisonous, what their preys eat is toxic, and it just goes up the system. Anyways, that's my rant on that.
No, no, no. Actually, I mean, you're spot on it. They say right now it's happening to humans. The amount of microplastics that we're taking in is messing up our way of reproduction. So that's a whole nother conversation there.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because I my um like some of the stuff that they feed us, that's wrapped up in plastic is worse for you. Um, like like a Twinkie. Like my doctor actually told me, she's like, Chrissy, I had went through a period when I was pregnant, that so my husband died when I was 3 months pregnant with, you knew that, Fly, but everybody else may not have. Um, my husband, ironically, I'm the one with the epilepsy, and he had a brain injury 3 weeks before our wedding and started having seizures afterwards and fell in the water and drowned when I was 3 months pregnant with our second son. Um, so, needless to say, I was having some sleep issues after he died. And my doctor had said, I'd much rather you taking Unisom, which is safe to take while you're pregnant and it helps you sleep. I'd much rather you having taking that take this than eat a Twinkie, Chrissy, because the stuff in that is poison. And that was kind of eye-opening. It was like, okay, I can take this um sleep aid. She wants me taking a sleep aid over a Twinkie,
There,
and that's
a lot of preservatives in a Twinkie, man.
Dude.
They always said if there was a nuclear holocaust, the only thing that would be left would be cockroaches and Twinkies.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so many
right.
preservatives in a Twinkie.
Yeah, it's gross what we feed our kids and what we feed ourselves, what's
Yeah,
in
no,
that.
no, it's crazy. I mean, I'm very lucky because I get to travel a lot, so I get to eat in a lot of different countries, and wow, it's a huge difference.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
I bet.
huge difference. When I go to Japan, the food I eat is, oh my God, it's so good. It's
Yeah,
so good. Even in Europe, when I go to Europe, I fished a tournament in Rome once. It was a 4 day tournament, and I got there, I think, 2 days early, and I stayed 4 days late. And I specifically did it so I can just go around Italy and eat the food. And I did. I went to Venice and uh ate some unbelievable food. Then I went came down back to Rome and went to the Vatican. I saw the Pope. I saw the
very
Pope. I wasn't intending to see the Pope. I just wanted to go to the Vatican. And while I was there, I saw the Pope go across the balcony and he waved. And I thought that was pretty cool. But the worst part about the Vatican was when I walked out. Vatican it's surrounded by a big giant wall. And that's a whole nother conversation of walls. But when I
yeah,
walked out one of the walls, one of the gates that walled in the Vatican, what was the first thing I saw was McDonald's right outside. I was like, come on, really?
yeah,
And I'm not knocking, if that's what you like to eat, that's what you like to eat. But I think for me, every night was just a huge adventure of where am I going to eat dinner, have something, uh, great.
yeah. Now, Rome was it. It was I went there on my we did Amsterdam, Florence, Venice, and Rome for our honeymoon. And while I love Amsterdam. Um, Not a huge fan of Venice. We got into Florence. It was super small. And then we drove out to Chianti. We're like, we need to get out of the city. Like, we're not city people.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's just too close for comfort. And we went out to Chianti and stayed in a castle, in the middle of wine country. And that was by far like the best part of our trip. And my gosh, the steak and the pasta and just, I mean, they don't dry their pasta out there. They make it
And they
and
eat
that
it.
and it was just like real food that like comes in and goes out and does not like stay there for 6 months and slowly give you cancer.
No. I remember when I was in Venice, whatever restaurant I went to, I had a fillet, a bacon wrapped fillet, but it wasn't like what we see as bacon wrapped. It's not like one little piece of bacon. They actually built like a lattice and they wrapped the whole fillet in this. And it
Get
was
it
so,
in.
yeah, it
Um,
was just completely woven bacon around this beautiful fillet, like a 10-ounce fillet. And then I had some linguine and pesto sauce.
oh, my inner fat kid is so happy right now,
Oh
Flo.
my gosh, I remember somewhere I have a picture of it and um had a salad, but everything was so fresh. And the only mistake I made in Venice, so I got an Airbnb, and this is where I learned that you got to read the fine print on everything. I got a room, there was no air conditioning. And I'm like, oh my God, my inner fat kid, which I still am today, I like cold, ice cold. Well, you really couldn't hang out in the room during the day, but at night, it would get down to like in the mid 50s. So it was perfect. I opened up all the windows, but here's the catch. 6 o'clock in the morning, all those restaurants, people are with their wheelbarrows running back and forth to the store to get all this fresh food. So you can hear all the wheelbarrows, all the carts at 6 o'clock on the cobblestone roads. Uh, and I'm like, what is all this noise? And I look out and I just see people running around everywhere with fresh foods and fresh carrots and lettuce. And here's the butcher. And no, it's a totally different experience than what we're used to, especially in Florida. I mean, and I'm not knocking any of the grocery stores. It's what we do here. But sometimes when you're in, and I'm not a city guy. I'm just as happy sitting in the woods by myself. I'm used to being on a rock in the middle of somewhere on a boat fishing, and at the end of the night, you just sit outside on the dock and you talk to everybody. But Venice was cool. Rome was a little crowded, but I enjoyed it. The fishing was okay. I've I've had a chance to fish a few different places in the Med, between Italy and France and Croatia, Monaco, Egypt.
You're
Um, what's that?
so cool, Fly.
I'm not, listen, again,
Oh,
it,
grow up
it-
in
it's, don't give me, I'm so cool. You know what it is? I'm just the same little Cuban kid like your dad was that followed his passion, and his passion has carried him all over the world.
I know, and that is so cool.
Exactly. That's what's so great about this industry is you don't have to be 6'4". You don't have to run a 4.340. All you have to do is be passionate about it and want to give 100%. If you give 100%, it'll give you 100% back. And that's one of the things that I try to push everybody. It's, hey man, if this is the sport you like, or even if you don't have the passion as deep as, let's say, myself or your dad, let's say you just really like it and you find a way to make money in it. Um, you want to be a mechanic, be a mechanic. You want to build a boat. There's so many different ways to be in this industry. You don't have to be crazy enough to want to go fishing 300 days a year.
And that's like when Ryder, my youngest isn't there, talking about what he wants to do when he grows up, but AJ is. And AJ will say, I think I want to be a fisherman like my daddy, my grandpa, and my Uncle Chuck. And I said, honey, I'd love that for you. But I think it's important that you learn how to do other stuff too. Because here's the thing. If you're going to be a fisherman like your daddy, your uncle, and your grandpa, you're going to be watching other people fish and you're going to be watching them mess up those fish that you found. Now, if you do something like building boats or working on engines, you make a lot more money. You'll be able to live in the Keys, and then you can take out your boat and fish when you want to. Just something to think about, kiddo. We don't
Yeah,
have to just stay. Um, but I saw a lot of and listen, like my late husband Dave still loved his job. Chuck loves his job. My dad loved his job. But I feel like as a long-term plan, just being a guide, it's a hard flipping job.
it's hard.
And that you can do, I mean, actually you can. You can do it into your 70s. I know guides that are out there doing it, but it's hard on your body. Um Luckily my kids got that brown in them, so hopefully, the skin cancer factor is not as strong as it is with all the white boys down here. But we spend a lot of time in the sun. My dad had both of his hips replaced before he was 50. I mean, I'm 41 now, Fly, and me thinking like my dad had his first hip replaced when he was 46,
Wow.
and then his second one at 48. Like, I'm not as broken as well, my brain is, but
Yeah.
the rest, like, at least I'm not as broken in that way.
That's what a lot of
Um,
people, especially my generation, walking around barefoot or in flip-flops.
mhm,
When I was 32, my doctor flat out told me, that's it. You can't walk around barefoot anymore. You got to wear shoes. It's going to wear out your hips. It's going to wear out your knees. It's going to wear out your back. It beats you up. And here's the thing, and this is because I get a lot of kids reach out to me on social media about, oh, I want to be a fisherman. As all this hard stuff we're talking about, your hips, your back, your knees, it's hard work. I'm not going to lie. That's the easy part. Being away from your family, that's the hardest part of all of it,
yeah.
is being away. I've seen way too many families, marriages break up because you have this passion for the ocean. You want to be on the ocean and you miss out on a lot of stuff. I've missed out
Yeah.
on so many things, and I'm not questioning it. I'm not complaining about it. I'm very happy with all the decisions I've made. But listen, there's a reason I'm 52 and I've never been married. It's, you know, uh, a term I've heard more than once, geographically undesirable. It's just hard, when you're trying to uh, raise a family or, work on a relationship, but you leave home and you're not coming back for 6 weeks.
Hmm.
That's hard. That's hard. And I've never had to make the decision of leaving my house while there was kids home.
Yeah. Luckily, my dad would, he was gone during the day. But he wouldn't, eh, he got his show when I was 11,
Okay.
and my parents split when I was 12. Um, so like when we didn't live together and he was traveling more, it was like by 13, I was already living in Maine. So him traveling all the time uh didn't really register as much. but it would be funny when um I feel like fishing guides or people in the fishing industry, you guys have like a lot of Peter Pan syndrome. Um and I was very fortunate to have, my dad's pay for me to go to college and, support me while I did that. And, this was before the days of Venmo and, you know, automatic payments. So I'd call my dad like on the first of the month, Dad, hey, I checked my bank account and rent's due. Krissy, I'm in the middle of the Amazon. What do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but rent's always due on the first, Dad. And I don't know what to tell you. It's $150 every day we're late. So like just the funny, frantic phone calls of him being in the middle of nowhere and like, okay, well, how do I figure this out, before we had all the digital stuff. Um, but even when he died, Fly, it's like the amount of um he was so good at what he did. The fishing, the show, he was so good at that stuff, but the not fun stuff, like the signing the contracts and like, oh my God, just like the spreadsheets of the shows and when they aired and the show descriptions, like some of that like stuff of keeping you organized, like, oh my God, when I opened up that pile of it's just funny looking at someone that you know so well and that you love so much and how they thrive, where they thrive, and where they don't. Just the not fun stuff was was the not fun stuff for my dad. So like trying to put all the pieces together after the fact uh has definitely been a challenge, but we're doing it. And I'm really excited for the upcoming shark tournament and to really capture that footage and be able to put something together to hopefully be able to introduce to the next generation to get the ball rolling in order to have the media component to continue to tell the story so the foundation can continue to thrive as well.
So, being that you brought up the foundation, let's segue a little bit into what made you decide to start the foundation.
I didn't. Um, I didn't decide to start the foundation. It was such a whirlwind, Fly. My dad had died. I think within like 2 days. Um, there was a lot of industry people here and a lot of close friends and um some of the guys from Shimano, some of the producers from JM, and some of my dad's friends said, all right, Krissy, we're going to start a foundation and you're going to run it. And we're going to do something cool to honor your dad's legacy. And I was just like, okay.
Oh
And
boy.
here I am. Thank God for Google, because I pretty much, I had an education in film and video. I knew nothing about the nonprofit sector or business or anything like that. Um, and I had a lot of really great people kind of show me the way along the way. Um, and I might start to transition into a more of like a tournament side, event side, um, and add in some kind of media component because I kind of feel like I'm doing it backwards, Fly. Um, you know, the not the nonprofit will continue, um, but I can't I can't raise a family on a nonprofit salary. I just can't do it. After 13 years, I make 54,000. I mean, it's all public record, $54,000. And that's before taxes with no benefits. Um, and there's nothing left to sell, right? Some people may think that I got like a bunch of money or life insurance or this and that. Nope, nope. I got a few votes, and listen, I'm not bitching at all, but at the end of the day, the structure of how we've been operating is not sustainable. Um, so being able to bring in a media component, um, to the brand and start to continue to tell the story, will hopefully bring in more people to help support the foundation as well. Um, is what we're gearing towards. Building our tournaments, building our events, and then building the media component, that can bring on industry sponsors and continue to tell the story. And then that way, if the brand is doing well and the show is doing well, the foundation will do well as well. We'll only benefit from that. Um, but the events that we hold, I mean, you've been to a few of them and they're good. I mean,
They're great events.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's good camaraderie, great food.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I want to build our events to where we can afford to pay for speakers, bigger names to come down, or at least we can pay their expenses. But right now, as a nonprofit, um, your distribution of funds needs to be a certain amount of percentages for your expense revenue, versus if we rolled our events into the for-profit company, it doesn't matter what your distribution of funds are in a for-profit company. We could pay an event staff, because the way that it's running right now, just being completely reliant on volunteers, um, it's not sustainable long term, and it's not sustainable for me. I could I can do this for about another 2 years until I'm broke. And then what? So um that's why I'm really excited for the shark tournament coming up this year, to add in the media component and some additional footage, and being able to take that to iCast and see if it bites. Being able to have the team at Outdoor America who's going to work on this with me. Because the foundation, I have had a lot of help from a lot of people, yourself included, but the day-to-day grind, I mean, listen, I call you like what, every couple months, Fly, I need help, blah 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 blah, and you do. You absolutely do. And there's a lot of people in the industry that I can say the same exact thing. Um, However, like the day grind, scheduling out the social media stuff, reconciling our bank statements, like I do everything, and it is long term just not sustainable. So I'm excited to see how we can kind of pivot some of this and just capture some really good content and continue to tell his story. So
it's a great story,
it's
and it needs to continue.
it
And
is.
you're at the same time, while you're continuing his story, you are creating yours.
Hmm. Yep.
So I personally think, and I'm a bit biased, so but I think you're doing a great job at continuing his story, yet building yours.
I appreciate that, Fly.
Yeah. You're continuing your father's legacy while yet building your own and helping build the legacy of two young boys in the industry. Um, and don't let them ask me, because I'll tell them don't be a fisherman. I I tell it to every kid. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I love it. I would never ever take anything back that I've done. But just like anything else, you know, if
But
you
if I
want
call
to,
him a fisherman, then that's going to make him want to be a
you
fisherman
know,
even more.
listen, I get it. It's just when kids call me,
Yeah.
I tell them, I'm like, listen, it's hard. Do you want to have a family? Do you want to have kids? If that's something you want to do, then just have a backup plan, you know? And there's nothing wrong with it. Listen, if you want to do in your 20s into your 30s, you know, but after a while, your knees hurt, your back hurts, uh, too many times your heart hurts, you know? It just, it's just the story. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's, I love it. But listen, I know a couple charter guys that are uber successful, but they're uber successful because they're fishing 28 days a month. And those 28 days, you're not home, you know, and that wears. It
Yeah.
wears. And again, I just want, just like anything else we do, I want an educated decision.
Mhm. Yeah. Because it's definitely not an easy job, you know. Um, when you're not actually fishing your client, you have to do things like, I was talking to my boyfriend last night and he's like, you know what, because he's fishing the shark tournament too. And he's like, I need to figure out when I can go catch some bait for the shark tournament. I'm like, yeah, you do. So, and he's got and it's tarpon season right now. So he's got fly guys right now, but he's got to come home and rig up shark tackle for the tournament. So, and then he's got to check his pinfish traps so then he can catch the jacks so then he can catch the sharks for the actual. So, it's not there's so much that people don't realize that go into it. And whenever I see like a girl come down here and she falls in love with a fisherman and it's like, girl, you know what you're getting into?
You're getting into a whole bunch now.
Because like just when he comes, but like just when he gets off the boat, like his job is not done. Um, he still has to clean the boat, clean the tackle, then he's got to tie the flies, rig his stuff. Like it's nonstop. And I see a lot of people who fall in love with the idea of marrying a fisherman, and it's not as glitz and glamour as you having access to a boat all the time to catch whatever fish you want. Like it's not always like that. Um,
A boat
so
is a lot of work, man. It's a
uh
lot of work.
yeah, yeah. And like when my late husband, before he got his boat, he used to always buy me presents, buy me jewelry, buy me this, buy me that. He bought that boat and I stopped getting as many presents. And I'd look at that boat and be like, you slut.
The
You took my,
mistress. The boat is
yeah,
always the mistress.
yes, took his money and no remorse out of it whatsoever, bitch.
A little extra money. Well, I need fuel. Oh, I
Yeah,
need this. Oh, the engine just went out. Yeah, there's a reason it's called a boat. It's break out another thousand.
absolutely. But oh, Fly, it's always a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much for your time today.
I
Uh,
appreciate
I'm trying to block the microphone a little bit with them cutting lawn outside. I'm sure you can hear it.
I can actually.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty loud over here. So, oh, that was the leaf blower. But I thank you for your time. Please tell everybody where they can find your tournament, your foundation,
So,
all your stuff.
all my stuff. So, you can find out more information about the shark tournament at keywestsharktournament.com. You can find out more about the organization at josewahebe Wahebe is a tough one. It's Wejebe. You can also buy Spanish Fly apparel and branded products at SpanishFlyTV.com. And I upload an episode every week to YouTube. So if you're missing the show and you want to watch it, you can find it on our YouTube channel. It's Spanish Fly TV. And it also airs on Outdoor America as well.
Beautiful. Well, Krissy, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story with everybody. And you hold it right there. And I'll just say to everybody that's listening, thank you very much. And we will check with you guys back later.